Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. My name is Chuck Eckman. I am Dean of the University of Miami Libraries and one of the co-chairs of the conference. I want to join my co-chair, Ann Prestamo, Dean of Libraries at the Florida International University, in welcoming you to Miami in person and virtually. I also want to note at the outset that we are meeting on the homeland of the Tequesta, Seminole, and Miccosukee peoples. This acknowledgement is one of the ways in which we work to educate ourselves about this land, its history, and our relationship with the land and each other. It is now my great pleasure to introduce to you Dr. Anna Wałek, President of the International Association of University Libraries. Dr. Wałek is an experienced library manager as well as an open access and digital libraries expert. She created a new university-wide unit at Wrocław University of Technology responsible for the collection and sharing of scientific and technical information, intellectual property management, technology transfer, and cooperation between science and economic sector, the Center for Scientific and Technical Information. She has served as the center's director for 2 years, and then since January 2017, she has served as director of the Gdańsk University of Technology Library. She is the author of over 20 scientific articles in the areas of digital libraries and open access. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Wałek to the podium.
Thank you, Chuck. It is my great pleasure to be here with you. Dear delegates, colleagues, and friends, it is my pleasure to welcome you to the 42nd Annual IATUL Conference hosted by the University of Miami and Florida International University in Miami. The last 2 years have been a difficult period for us. We cared maybe more than ever before for the health and safety of our loved ones, and at the same time we face the challenge of maintaining services for library users at the highest possible level. More than ever, libraries have become involved in remote work and teaching, providing additional tools and services for users. Nevertheless, thanks to the organizers' commitment, we were able to experience the 2021 annual conference in Porto and the annual seminars in Innsbruck and Gdańsk. The 41st annual conference in Porto was the first online conference in the history of our organization. Furthermore, this year's conference in Miami is the first hybrid conference in the history of IATUL, which allows participants to meet both on-site and remotely. I want to extend a warm welcome to both the conference participants on-site and in Miami, and those joining us online. IATUL always had and still aims to address all topics and challenges of library metrics, architecture, information literacy, leadership methods, e-research support, librarian skills, scholarly publishing, open science, and so much more. The IATUL Annual Conference is an excellent opportunity to hear about the latest academic library initiatives, visit awards-winning libraries, and network with colleagues and friends from all around the world. The conference theme is Waving Our Future: Creativity, Innovation, and Transformation in Libraries. This year, IATUL will be developing a new strategy. So today I would like to invite all of our members to participate in this process, which is essential to us. The development of our strategy and a discussion on the existing and newly emerging special interest groups tasks will introduce us to a new era of IATUL's activity. The title of this year's conference perfectly reflects our goals and ambitions. A university library's mission and its entire infrastructure are part of the university and its mission. Taking up Waving Our Future, Creativity, Innovation, and Transformation in Libraries as a topic of the 2022 annual conference reflects and significance context has for our work as service providers. On behalf of the IATUL Board of Directors, I would like to express my sincere thanks to Ann Prestamo and Charles Eckman, the Vice President of IATUL, their teams, and all the organizing committees and their members from the University of Miami and Florida International University Libraries and beyond for creating this opportunity for us. Thanks to their efforts, we can meet after such a long time in an extraordinary atmosphere and the ideal environment. I would like to also thank the sponsors for of this conference for their generous support. Thank you, and I wish you a nice conference.
Thank you, Anna, very much. It is now my great pleasure to introduce Dr. Jeffrey Duerk, Executive Vice President for Academic Affairs and Provost at the University of Miami. Provost Duerk is former Dean of the School of Engineering at Case Western Reserve. He is an accomplished engineer and scientist who has promoted many interdisciplinary research and educational initiatives, a leading expert in biomedical imaging, especially magnetic resonance imaging. He holds more than 40 patents and has been awarded several industry-sponsored grants. In 2017, he was inducted as a fellow into the National Academy of Inventors. And also in that year, he joined the University of Miami in his present role. Please join me in welcoming Provost Jeffrey Duerk to the stage.
Thanks, Chuck, and thanks all of you for being here. It's a real pleasure on behalf of the entire leadership team of the University of Miami and Florida International University to welcome you to Miami and also to welcome you to Lakeside Village. This is a place, this is a location here on campus that's also transformative, and it brings together opportunities for students to live, learn, study, and engage, and us as a university to serve our role to convene experts, to disseminate knowledge, and to transform the way we think and do things. It's really a delight for us to be hosting the 42nd annual meeting of IATUL and to co-host it, as I said, with our friends at FIU. You know, when I think about transformation and one of the themes of your meeting, one of the things I think about or I thought about was, you know, the transformation that we all had to go through over the last 2 years. And it's not just because of the pandemic, it's the opportunity that the pandemic presented to us. The transformations that we had to go through were not inconceivable. They were actually conceivable. It's just that they were unlikely. And it was through the pandemic and the pressures and the obligations we felt to our stakeholder communities that we felt obligated in the need to take on and transform fundamentally how we did things. And I think all of us recognize that when there's a moment of crisis, a moment of uncertainty, that actually represents opportunities for us to learn and do things differently. And so it's been interesting for me, and not as a university provost, but also as a partner with the university libraries, to think about what is the role of a university library in that transformation, in fundamentally thinking about the way we can do things differently. We can think about it from the perspective of what's the traditional role in which a university stakeholder community thinks about a library. And Chuck and I have talked about this. In many cases, the community thinks of the library as a repository of knowledge. And it was essential for us to work with the communities, as I'm sure many of you did, to engage that community, to think about how the library serves as the source of knowledge, the place where knowledge arises, as opposed to a place where knowledge is stored. Now, in our university, our strategic plan is known as the roadmap to our next century, and I want to share with you just 2 examples of how our university libraries are central, fundamentally integral parts of that roadmap to our next century. Now, one of the pillars of our strategic plan is mission-driven research. And mission-driven research for us means that we assemble problem-based interdisciplinary teams to pursue important topics. And we provide something in the neighborhood of $2 million a year to form those teams to begin exploration, scientific exploration in areas, important areas of research. So it's not just a study, it's specific problems, interdisciplinary teams, form the teams, identify the problem. And in each of those teams, a member of the university library faculty is an integral member of every research team. And that was by design. The second one is education for life. If you think about what's the role of the traditional role of a university in a young person's life, it serves a role in that sort of 18 to 22 year period, those 4 years that are critical to a student's progression, maybe 22 to 24 if they get a master's, or 22 to 30 if they get a PhD, but it's a transient experience. And yet I believe, and I think many of you believe, that education is like food. If you don't have it for your entire life, throughout your entire life trajectory, you will stall. You will stop. You will not be able to go farther. And I'm happy to share with you that Chuck is the leader of that initiative for the University of Miami, fundamentally thinking about how knowledge, how education can be part of every individual's life throughout their entire, not just career trajectory, but their life trajectory. So I think of these as opportunities for all of us to think about how to transform a university library. And I'm thrilled that all of you are here, not only in person, but online, with those same types of questions: how to innovate, how to transform. We all recognize that higher education is changing at the global level, fundamentally. It's perhaps the only industry that hasn't gone through one of those inflection points of dramatic change. But university partners, all of you, are key stakeholders, key partners in helping us pursue that positive change that we know is going to happen. And that's why it was so important for us and so exciting for us to be hosting IATUL this year at this point in time, not just here in Miami, but to bring all of your expertise together to look at some of these very important topics for not just for higher education, but also for fundamentally how libraries can be a central part of that transformation. So thank you for being here. I'm sure you'll have a great meeting. I'll try to stop by periodically, but Chuck, Anna, thank you for having us here. Bye-bye. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Jeff, for that inspiring talk and connecting the libraries to transformation, and for providing us with the challenge as we move forward throughout this conference to be really focused and thinking about the future and how we can fit into that. I would now like to just take a moment to thank all of you for joining us here for the in-person meeting who were able to, and to also thank our virtual audience for joining us as well. I would also like to take this moment to invite my co-chair and Prestamo to join me here at the podium. There was a team of a local arrangements group from both universities who we want to thank, as well as our program committee. All of that information is on the website, and we'll talk more about that later in the conference. But I did also want to specifically mention our two executive officers, Kim Loper from the Calder Memorial Library, and Rita House at Florida International University, who really have handled, and many of you have interacted with regularly, much of the day-to-day details, as well as all the members of our local arrangements committee members. Finally, we do want to thank our sponsors and exhibitors, as Anna mentioned, who helped make all of this possible, and our presenters, poster presenters, paper presenters, and the attendees. I'm now going to turn this over to Anne.
Again, welcome. We hope you have a very enjoyable next few days here with us, and we look forward to meeting each of you personally. Thank you.
And just a couple more points. One is about this audience, which is, I don't think we've shared this, but there are 140 registrants as of Friday. And 55 of those registrations are virtual, 85 are in person. There's also 26 countries represented in the registration, so from every continent except Antarctica, I think we determined. So it is quite a diverse audience, and we really do appreciate those of you who are in this room who sometimes endured very significant transit issues. I apologize for anything. We had some things in our control and other things we didn't have in our control as we were planning the conference, but we do appreciate your perseverance and resilience as you approached getting to this space. And I think the last thing we wanted to say is we also hope you will persevere and be resilient as we get accustomed to what it means to run a hybrid conference. We are learning as we're going. I think there are a lot of folks who have worked here, local arrangements and volunteers, to make sure that we control everything that we can, and we have some support from Event Factor, the group that is handling the technology infrastructure, and we think it's going to go smoothly, but we know there are going to be hiccups. So please bear with us, and especially with the presenters, we're working hard to make sure it's all very smooth and seamless for you. With that said, I think we're a little bit ahead of schedule. Our first keynote will be at 9:30, so you have a little bit more time to grab some coffee or water or something over in the pavilion, or visit the study lounge to see what that space is like, or to stay here and to be quiet. So thank you all very much, or to network. So thank you.